Hey family, how you doing? Here we are with another travel review. Um, this trip I took was in 2011. It was one of the last trips of the season because you can only go to this place in the summer months. Where was this I went? It was called Antarctica. And I went on this big, huge boat organized and I guess owned by the National Geographic. And um, on this boat were, well, let's just say not your average tourist. Um, there was a lot of people who, I don't know, well, I'll just make an observation of some of the people on the boat that I first took notice of. Um, a lot of diplomats, a lot of people carrying diplomatic passports. Uh, I'm not going to go into too much what that means, but suffice to say that if you have a diplomatic passport, it's for the purpose of doing things in other countries that would and could get you thrown in jail, but you have diplomatic immunity with the dip passport. So basically, you're a criminal or you're working for a criminal organization. So, anyhow, I also noticed there was this, because it was very much, as you can imagine, a very like conscientious group of people about nature and you know, um, wanting to take care of the environment and that kind of thing, right? So on board this ship, we had like a really amazing chef, and the crew in the kitchen were just five-star restaurant kind of presentations. I can't believe how they did this for that many people that were on the boat. It was quite the feat. But there was this one family that I guess for whatever reasons, they felt like they couldn't eat off of the same plates that the rest of us had eaten. You know, the one that considers the rest of us to be the goyim, and the subhuman as opposed to their, what is it, race or religion? I'm still trying to figure out what that means. Somebody just said that to me yesterday. I asked her about her lineage, and she said she was a Russian Jew. Well, I was wondering, I said, what does that mean? Does that mean like you have Russian heritage, but your family practiced the religion of Judaism? And she said, no, it's, well, I'm not really sure what it is. Yeah, we're not really sure what that means, do we? There's a lot of confusion around that. But not if you read the last chapter of the Bible, or the last book of the Bible called Revelations. I think it was Revelations 3, chapter 3, verse 9. It talks about those who, this word that gets thrown around, say, I'm Jewish. And really, what does that mean? But we can tell what it means if we have a look at that particular book of the Bible. So a lot of like, just in general, like very, the people that were on this boat, well, let me just say this much. I had one of the cheapest rooms on the boat, like the cheapest class ticket you could buy. And it worked out to about $1,500 a day. So it was, and then they had some other rooms on the ship that were just like 10 times that amount. So very kind of fancy affair, but let's see. So we set sail, and I'm on this boat with, I don't know, a bunch of people, would just say, that are caught up in the matrix and, very reptilian based, and I got to get mine so you can't get yours, and just very much like, I don't want to say like self-centered, because I think it's a good healthy thing to be focused on yourself and to be centered within yourself, but not to the point where it's like, I don't know, narcissistic, I suppose. So this family who couldn't eat off the other plates, the same plates as us, they insisted that their meals be served on paper plates and that the paper plates be thrown away so that no one else could dine off of the plates that they had dined off of. And then, of course, everything had to be wrapped in foil and separated so it didn't touch any of the food that was being cooked for the goyim. And it was just like this whole extra set of work that they had to the kitchen staff doing, and this whole extra footprint of trash being generated on the boat, I mean, down to the silverware and everything. They plastic silverware, and I don't know, it was just, well, I had to make a note of that. And then as we got underway, we got past the Drake Passage. That was, wow. I've been on a lot of ships before, and I've been in a lot of rough seas before, but this one took the cake. Yes, a super, super intense journey across the Drake Passage. But when we got across the Drake Passage, shortly after that, there was a lady on board who came down with this medical condition, a life-threatening medical condition. Now, before you got to go on this trip, you had to get a doctor's exam, you had to have EKGs, you had to have a statement from the doctor saying, and that you're fine and good health, and that you had to have a separate insurance policy to cover medical evacuation by helicopter and things like this. I mean, it was a big thing to prepare to go on this trip. So everybody had to have one of these exams, right? And permission from the doctors, whatever, giving you the thumbs up saying you could go on this trip. But as it turns out, there was a lady who developed, see if I can remember, I think it's called diverticulitis. It's where it's caused by a state of like chronic and deep traumatic kind of stress, and it collects in your GI tract, and your intestines literally start tying themselves up in knots so that you cannot eat any food and you cannot pass any food. It's like becoming constipated, but instead of everything being down near your anus and your bowels, it's more throughout the entire GI tract. So it's a very dangerous situation, and we had to turn around because our trip was, I think it was 11 days or 12 days and 11 nights, something like that. And our route was charted out, how far south we could get, and everybody was looking to get as far south as possible, and all that kind of stuff. Well, we had to turn around and spent a day and a half going back to the nearest landmass, and then the captain could not release this lady off of the ship until the insurance company came through on some satellite telephone line saying, yea, verily, we will pay for the medical evacuation of this insured lady who needs medical attention. Your typical run around with the insurance company, but apparently the captain and quite a few other people on the boat had some pulls, so they made it pretty snappy, and the helicopter came, and then the lady was taken away, and then we were back on our journey, right? But that everybody was really upset. Like a lot of people, well, you can imagine, this is like a once in a lifetime kind of trip, and you have these expectations about how far you're going to go down into the Antarctic and what you're going to see and how unique it's going to be, and then to have a day and a half cut off of that means that we couldn't travel as far down south as we had planned to do, but rather the captain got us as far south as he could before he had to turn around and come back. And, there was a lot of people that were very like, well, we were all disappointed, but, there was some people that were like, just, I don't know how to describe it, but people that are just never, ever, ever used to being told the word no. Like they've got enough money and clout to just get whatever they want, get their way, never have to deal with any disappointment or whatever. And they were, when the meeting was called that night, it was the first mate who came out and said, explained the situation and why we had to divert and why we lost a day and a half, and here's our new route. And the roar of the audience was just like jumped up and started screaming and yelling and cussing out this first mate, and like it's her fault, and anyway, so I just I don't know, I don't like to do stuff like this, but I just felt like it was a little injection of sanity had to take place, and I just opened up my mouth and said it. And I said, look, no one on this boat could have like be held to blame for what happened to this woman, right? Even she passed the exam just like all of us did, none of us play. But look, if that was you that came down with that, wouldn't you want the boat to turn around and take you back to land so you could be medevaced? Or would you rather that everybody else on the boat got their ticket, whatever they came to see, and then you died as a result of it? An excruciating, painful death, probably dehydration would set in first if you couldn't, take any fluids or anything inside your body. And there just wasn't any medical staff on board that was set up for like, somebody to be in the sick bay for 10 days. Not like with the situation, not with a situation like that. So I after I said that, then I realized, well, the crowd sort of calmed down a little bit, but anyway, it was just that kind of crowd on the boat, just to give you an idea. A lot of luminaries. We even had we had an astronaut, don't you know, who went to the moon on board with us. I can't remember that dude's name, but. And then we had this other guy who, he would go scuba diving every day in a dry suit and take videos and films and show us. It was a cool trip. Oh, but okay, so let's see. Oh yeah, so we set sail back and we got down there, and I'm gonna tell you right now, I've never seen ice like this in my life, ever. It was definitely different. And this ice, as it turns out, because there was this sort of sudden disruption within the universe, most accounts and most ancient texts refer to it as an intergalactic war that took place, and it sent reverberations throughout the universe, and it caused the earth to kind of like shake off, because where she was sitting upright on her axis, straight up and down like the other planets, and that she was turned on her side, and that's why we have the freezing of the poles, right? So for me, I just couldn't help but wonder about, because water is consciousness, right? If you're familiar with Dr. Emoto's work on this subject, there's been many others too, but he's one of the primary go-tos if you want to learn about water and the consciousness that is water, right? And so I couldn't help but wonder if this ice had been melted, or excuse me, if this water had been frozen, if this consciousness had been frozen almost instantaneously. That would have taken the consciousness that's on the planet, right? That the water encapsulates all the consciousnesses on the planet at that time. And it would have took it and put it into an almost immediate state of stasis, or frozen. It's no longer moving and fluid, it's frozen. And yes, I did see the ice melting a lot. In fact, it was wreaking havoc on the nests of the penguins, because the babies, um, were a lot of them were dying because, of freezing to death, because they're fluffy. They didn't have their adult feathers. They just had their fluffy feathers on. But the ice that would normally be firm around their nests was melting, and it was creating wet nests, and the babies don't have any protection of their, like, they're not able to seal. They don't have the adult feathers with the oil in them. They're not able to get wet, right? So it's pretty sad to see these, penguins suffering because of this ice melting. And but I couldn't help but wonder, about this consciousness that was coming out of stasis and how that would affect the planet. And because that's melting into the Antarctic Sea, and then it flows northerly until it hits the Drake Passage, and then it gets all churned up in the Drake Passage and then spits out, into the Atlantic Ocean. And like there's like jet streams and stuff that cause the water to kind of move in a certain pattern. And I just couldn't help but wonder about this ice, this coming out of stasis, this consciousness that's coming out of stasis and is melting into the sea, which then is evaporated in the divine intelligent order of things, evaporated with the cycle and the circle of life, where it comes back down in the form of rain and precipitation, right? And how that would affect the overall, say, water content, or the overall content and characteristics of the consciousness on the planet. Because all the other water that's been that was not frozen, has been in contact with the humans and everything, right? And so when this pure form of consciousness melts and meets, it was like in this divine order of things. And that I saw, now is the opportunity for us. If it's raining, go outside. If you can, just get butt naked and just let the rain fall on you. And make sure it touches you on your corona chakra too, because, back then things were different, right? We didn't have this system, this construct in place. It was well, let's just suffice to say that the consciousness of that's contained inside that ice, compared to the consciousness of the average or the collective here on the planet Earth, is a huge disparity. And but we'll see a gradual cooling of the seas, with the seas getting cooler as this Antarctic ice melts. Then you'll have this disparity between the temperature of the ocean and the temperature of the surface air and the surface currents, right? As the hot wind blows across the Sahara Desert and hits, the Atlantic, it goes all the way across and comes across the Gulf of Mexico and so on, right? And how that might come to be like the perfect storm, if you will, as this cold and this hot meet, and what kind of weather phenomena, right, that might entail. But also, if this is higher level consciousness, then it's going to touch and affect each one of us. So I just wanted to conclude that travel review of the Antarctic trip by, just to mention what I saw and what I felt intuitively about this ice that was melting. And yeah, I'll leave that with you. Any other travel reviews? If there's some place in particular that you'd like me to talk about, let me know. I've been around the world 4 times in total. It's easier for me to say the places that I haven't been in the world than it would be to tell you where I have, because I could tell you where I haven't been in like a minute or less. But I couldn't remember all the other places. Have a few photo albums. I don't know if I'll be able to access the photos anymore. I don't know. Everything's digital now, and your app might be out of date, and I just don't know. But we'll see if there's any other country out there that you're interested to hear a little bit about, maybe see some pictures if I can figure out how to drop them into the videos. I'll go ahead and do those travel reviews. Likewise for books, if there's any books that you want me to cover, do a summary review, we're going to start another playlist called book reviews, and of course there's the movie reviews. Now I don't watch a lot of movies, so but if there's a request and I just happen to have seen that movie, I will try to do that as well. So yeah, I guess until then, I'll see you in the dream world, family. Ciao for now.